Thank you, Counsel, for your willingness to meet today and to present Liquorloo's position. First, I will address Counsel's statements. Then I will respond to Counsel's proposal. Now, we've already acknowledged Section 2-601, which describes the perfect tender rule, allows a buyer in a one-shot contract to reject the whole of the goods if the goods do not conform in any manner to the contract. Putting aside Section 2-508 for a moment, Lewes would have had the right to reject the shipment if the shipment was non-conforming. However, because Section 2-314's implied warranty of merchantability only requires the goods to, quote, pass without objection in the trade and to be of, quote, fair average quality, Boo's shipment of 12 broken bottles in a lot of 1,200, which is within the industry standard for wine shipment, fills the gap in the parties' contract, given that the contract did not include a no replacement clause. Because the industry accepts a 1% breakage rate and the contract did not contain a no replacement clause, as explained in Section 2-508, Comment 2, the shipment of the wine conformed to the contract. Even if the shipment was non-conforming, Counsel implied that the alleged nonconformity was a trivial defect. Boo certainly hopes that Lewes will not sacrifice a potentially long-term and mutually beneficial business relationship with Boo's over a trivial defect. Next, I would like to address Counsel's statement that Boo's failed to meet its duty under Section 2-504 to make a contract that accorded to the nature of the goods. I would like to point out two things here. First, the safe delivery of 99% of the 1,200 bottles, or 1,188 unbroken glass wine bottles, before the end of the contract date, contradicts the notion that Boo's did not adequately contract for their shipment. Additionally, Boo's offer to replace the broken bottles is not an indication that Boo's failed to use services that warranted proper packaging of glass bottles. Instead, Boo's recognizes that filing the required claim with the carrier will be a time-consuming process. If Boo's relies on the carrier to reimburse Lewes for the 12 bottles, Lewes would likely have a long wait. Instead, Boo's has offered, as a goodwill gesture toward Lewes, to replace the bottles immediately. Although Counsel correctly stated that the time for performance has passed and that Boo's may not cure under Section 2-5081, Counsel has neglected to address Boo's right to cure under Section 2-5082. Section 2-5082 allows a seller to cure when the seller reasonably believed the goods would be acceptable. Under such circumstances, the seller may have an extension of a reasonable amount of time to cure the problem by seasonably notifying the buyer. Here, Boo's properly contracted for the wine safe delivery. Because the industry accepts small amounts of breakage and the parties did not contract for a no replacement clause, Boo's reasonably believed that Lewes would accept the shipment. Additionally, because Boo's immediately offered to replace the 12 broken bottles, Boo's seasonably noted Lewes of Boo's intent to cure. Thus, Section 2-5082 allows Boo's the opportunity to cure within a reasonable time. Because I believe we would be in agreement that 3 days is a reasonable time in which to provide the replacement bottles, Section 2-5082 protects Boo's from, quote, injustice from a, quote, surprise rejection. Further, Counsel stated that Boo's argues that the shipment here must substantially impair Lewes' ability to utilize the shipment. Because this contract is a one-shot contract, Boo's makes no such argument and in fact acknowledges that Section 2-601 governs this contract. Finally, from a practical standpoint, Lewes' decision to reject the shipment harms three entities: Boo's, the relationship between Boo's and Lewes itself. Boo's would be harmed by having to ship 50 cases of wine back to its warehouse. The relationship between Boo's and Lewes would likely be seriously damaged, especially if this dispute were to go to trial. And in some ways, Lewes stands to lose more than anyone. Lewes would have to seek, price, and contract for 1,200 new bottles of wine in 10 cases each of 5 varieties. Not only will that take a lot of time, Lewes may not be able to find a supplier that has the exact quantity and type of wine in stock that Lewes requires. Counsel stated that Lewes would be willing to accept Boo's offer of the replacement bottles as long as Boo's offers a form of compensation, given Lewes' right to seek damages. Because Counsel did not specify what type of compensation, Luz would find acceptable, we would like to re-extend Boo's goodwill gestures if Luz is willing to accept the shipment and allow Luz to replace the 12 broken bottles by June 4th. First, Boo's would offer Luz a 10% discount off Luz's next order of at least 25 cases from Boo's. Second, on future orders from Luz, Boo's will agree to ship by a date such that, should any breakage occur, Boo's will have time to replace any bottles before the date that Luz requires them. Thank you, Council, for your time and attention.